Assalamu alaikum and welcome to PMDC online lecture room. I am Syeda Warda Shah, lecturer English, Peshawar Model Degree College, Dalazak Road, Peshawar. Dear students, in this lecture we are going to discuss Essay 27, The Street. The Street. The reading is taken from the newspaper The Times, date 2nd December 1933, and deals with the subject of street on its uses. The writer thinks that a street is a place for gossip, loitering, trade, and recreation. There should be no wheel traffic on it. There should be like the street of Indian bazaars and Arab streets, where only people can be seen. But this is no longer possible for London City, as even the streets have fast four-wheeled traffic using them as thoroughfares. The author thinks that London will never be able to have the urban life which is a dream. The writer of this letter to the editor of a newspaper says that Mr. Frank Peck referred to an article in Architectural Review on the subject of the street. The writer says that Mr. Frank Peck made a surprising statement because Mr. Peck was a former managing director of the Underground Tube Railway and was a member of the London Passenger Transport. Mr. Peck said that a street was not mainly meant for traffic. He further stated that he considered that already much tragic harm had been done to the street because of the services, such as water and gas services, and the pipelines and the traffic on the wheels, used the street so much that the whole idea of the street changed its meaning. Today, the street has become means of movement of traffic on wheels. Of course, this change of definition of a street has taken about the centuries. The recorded historical objection was 400 years ago by the residents of Blackfriars Street in London who wrote against slow-moving great coaches in their street, which came and blocked the street's boundaries and limit the street. Later on, Sir Christopher Wren, the great well-known architect, exhibited a new plan for London after the Great Fire of London had taken its toll of human life and destruction. In this plan, he included at least one main road between the towns so that the heavy traffic should not take the street, which was not meant for them. The writer repeats Mr. Peck's definition of the street, that is, not meant for a traffic route. He has called it a place for gossips, for loitering, for exchange, for trade, and for recreation. The citizen has to live in it to give proof of these uses. The writer has mentioned the arcades, covered streets of Covent Garden in Queen Anne's day, the pentiles, two tiles with a curved surface, concave or convex, with reference to its width, of Royal Tunbridge Well, Dr. Johnson's Fleet Street, where he and his friends met and spoke to each other, the High Street of Cranford, a quiet village of a Troy town, and 101 other places. The author says that even within one's own memory, we recollect that people used to stroll about in Bond Street meeting one's friend or chatted on the footpath. At that time, Bond Street was a street. Today, if anyone uses the street in the same one on the wheel traffic would surely call out, "Learn to be a pedestrian." To a person on the meaning of the author or Mr. Peck, it is like a passage used to lead a person from Piccadilly to still more crowded Oxford Street. Mr. Peck has attached his modern use of street to show purpose and use of it. but the author says that it is worth to live in and think of old definition of the street. He says it's a pleasant excuse for a person to move about in leisure thinking one's own thoughts. He quotes the example of the streets in India and in any Arab town. He says that there we do not find any sort of vehicle in the street. It is actually full of people on foot who do not rush about to get any place but walking about in a leisurely manner. In fact, so leisurely in their method of walking about that a donkey can easily walk through like water, which will neither resist nor give way. In the open shop fronts, the men not only sell their ware, they also make them. The metal workers work with his metal wires. The markers of a saddle stitches his red color velvet or the leather. The potter is busy with the both his hands and one badly formed and to close together foot. The closest place which compares to the description of these kind of bazaars is the roads, where there are no vehicle on the wheels, nor people in a hurry. The roads also have something in comparison to the arcades in Pisa, a city in Italy, or in Padua, a city of Italy. These places are cool and allow very dim light and are suitable for loitering. In today's life, it has something of the sort of life for which Covent Garden was originally built. Then the imagination picture the street has become very wide that in the middle there are fountains and a long garden and a statue shining. Sometimes a motor car would pass from, there is no doubt, on the other end of the street, and so one cannot see people hurrying to go through to some other places on the other side. There is another idea like it is the Alameda of San Diego in the child South America, where the roads and gardens are so wide that even through traffic seems to have no significance. There are some of the kinds of street which the author would like to have in London. They should not be passages or railway tubes, they should be places with their own characteristic and beauty to be enjoyed at leisure. The author of this letter says that some village has been provided main roads in a few villages for the street to be used for purposes enumerated by the writers, but the author regrets that London and other towns are now impossible to return old urban city or town life. I hope now you get the idea of the street that how writer wants to see streets. Thank you for watching. Have a nice day.